Welcome to Converse. This session is called Crestron Flex Microsoft Teams Rooms for All Spaces, and it'll be presented to you today by Max Davies.
Thank you, Sam. Good morning or good evening, wherever you are. I'm Max Davies. I'm the Director of Enterprise and UC for Crestron ANZ. So I'm actually based in Sydney, and for me it's about 4 p.m. So we're just ending the day over here, and I'm here to talk to you about Crestron Flex, which is a Microsoft meeting room solution, MTR, which we are talking about for all spaces. Now, just a bit of background: Crestron is a global organisation based out of Rockland, New Jersey, and we've been around for about 50 years. Now, we've in recent times, we've been developing some very, very strong Microsoft relationships. Started over 10 years ago with some of the first link room systems, and we've seen the journey all the way from that to RL2, to the SRS solutions, and now into MTRs. And we're very proud to be working with Microsoft. It really is indeed an honour, a huge amount of opportunity in the marketplace for us at the moment as the world shifts to Teams as their default position for collaboration. So we're based globally. As I said, I'm based down in Sydney at the moment, and we're 90 offices globally, and upwards of 4,000 people, and privately owned organisations. So innovation is really at the heart of our core, and we design and we integrate all of our own solutions. So I'm here to talk to you really about the Flex ecosystem as it relates to Crestron Modern Meetings. And what we're going to cover through today is Crestron Flex primarily, which is an MTR solution, which has been in market for about 2 years. We're then going to talk about some of the complementary solutions that go alongside this. So things like Crestron Media, bringing Miracast into the picture. Then Crestron Room Scheduling, the ability to simply manage and to schedule meeting rooms and to understand what's going on in those spaces. Obviously, very, very important in the current times that we live. And then Crestron Xio Cloud is a topic we'll touch on as well. Now, Xio Cloud is our Azure-based monitoring and deployment platform, which has been to market for about a year or so. So, Crestron Flex, what is it and what does it do? Well, Crestron Flex is a range of solutions that has been brought to market to realize Microsoft Teams rooms into meeting rooms. But it's not just a single box on the table. This has really been built from the legacy of where Crestron comes from, which is meeting rooms for enterprise spaces. We've been doing that for a long, long time, and we have countless global customers that trust us every day for reliable meeting rooms. Now, for us, it starts with very small personal workspaces. So our M-Series solution can do Teams audio as a standalone unit, and we see our Mercury device there in that mode. When we move to small rooms, we have our B-Series, which is our front of room and our smart soundbar solution. So we call that a smart soundbar because it's featuring loudspeakers and microphones within that soundbar as you'd expect. But there's also a Huddly camera that's buried in that device as well, which, as you know, if you've ever looked at the Huddly IQ devices, has auto cropping and auto framing, but also some very, very clever technologies associated with people counting and metrics. So we're going to be using some of those technologies, and we'll talk about those later as well. When we move to medium or large meeting rooms, our MTR offering also utilizes the M-Series or the B-Series. But now we've got a series of peripherals and extras that can be put onto the room to make it suitable for those ultra-large spaces. So even the largest boardroom can be utilized with Microsoft Teams Room with a native solution utilizing enterprise-grade hardware. So things like expansion mics can be included on this, so just to ensure that the audio solution is going to be suitable for every space. Now, this is where, when we get to our custom spaces, where it really becomes Crestron's forte, because we've been designing custom spaces and we've been realizing custom spaces for a long, long time. So if you're talking about combining meeting spaces, or you're talking about lecture theatres, or any complex space where simply a box on a table is not going to be suitable, this is where the bespoke design from AV Specialist has been typically a very, very difficult space for software-based conferencing to exist, and that's where we come in. So we've got a series of, we've got the Crestron C series that comes into this space, and you can kind of see this as our integrated codec. So this allows us to be integrating with a whole load of exterior AV equipment like video switches and an audio process to enable complex spaces. And then our complementary solutions, as we mentioned before, such as room scheduling, exist because we know that our clients don't just walk into a meeting room and use the MTR solely. They need to find the meeting room. They need to understand what's going on in those spaces, and they need to have functions that extend beyond a Microsoft Teams room meeting as well. So one of the distinct advantages that Crestron has is that we have a very, very strong legacy in software-based control for AV meeting spaces. So as you guys will know, when you look at an MTR, that it's a very typical user interface, and everybody is very familiar with that. But the Crestron magic appears in the bottom right hand of the screen, because this is where the Crestron magic and the room control starts to be realized. So we've worked very closely with Microsoft to enable the page flip function on the MTR. So this gives you your single pane of glass to allow room controls to allow you to do anything to control that room from a single pane of glass. Now, that UI that we're showing there, that's just an example of what you can do. It can be a fully custom UI. It can have several pages if you wanted to. And we can do that for any function in the room. So that can be controlling the lighting or the blinds, source switching of different video sources, different cameras. We can schedule events. We can trigger via occupancy. Really, the world is your oyster in this regard. There is nothing to stop you doing anything in this space. But you can be sure that the default UI as you walk into that room will be the Teams interface. And this is very, very important when we're thinking about preserving the user experience for our clients out there. We always need to have a default position to go back to make sure that they don't struggle when they walk in the room. But even if they did, what we can do is we can bring on help desk functions and all types of things in these type of with this type of capability that we have. So we've taken some of our thinking a little bit further. So not only are now we able to automate the meeting spaces, and by the way, that automation and that page flip appears on every single one of Crestron's solutions in the MTR range, from the desktop solutions through to the tabletop solutions. And what we have, and in the sandbar solutions as well. So what we also have brought to market very, very recently is the Crestron Flex MX. Now, the MX is the next generation of what we're looking at the moment, and it's the first of many solutions that will be coming to market from Crestron that really sit in our premium offering between we'll have some base room systems and some premium systems, and these are premium systems that allow a greater degree of flexibility within the workspace. The reason we've done this is something really, really simple, is that we have found that whenever we are talking to clients, generally speaking, they're coming to Teams from somewhere. That might be from Cisco, or it might be from Skype itself, or it might be from any other platform. And the end game is to get all of the clients onto Teams and to have all rooms equipped for native Teams meeting utilizing MTRs. But there is always going to be what we call the 80-20 rule. There are always going to be a proportion, maybe 20% of the business, which either can't quite get to being native Teams just yet, or will never be native Teams because they have to do external meetings, or they are using platforms that, or they have guests within their environment. So in that scenario, typically what happens is that a reasonably complex bridging solution has to be put in place to be able to meet those demands, or you sacrifice the native elements of those rooms. What we're able to do with the Flex MX is to bring BYOD functionality onto that device. So what we're able to do now is to plug in a laptop utilizing an HDMI and a USB cable, and we can now take control of the audio and the video peripherals within that room, and now the laptop becomes the center of that collaboration device. So if you're in a native Teams room, but you have to do one meeting in Zoom with an external client, you can pop up Zoom on your laptop, plug it into the Flex MX 150, and all of a sudden that room is now a Zoom room. And you can do the same with Google, and you can do the same with any other platform that you want to do. So this then means that we don't have a problem with the 80-20 rule. We can use any platform that we want in those spaces, but when you unplug, and the default position for this device is a native MTR. So we can still preserve that functionality. So how does it present? Well, it's simply a graphic that pops up on the screen. So as you can see from this image here, that when the laptop is plugged in, you'll hear a little Windows ding ding, and then all of a sudden you'll see a pop up on the screen there to say the speaker and camera phone are ready. The camera are ready. Now what's happening now is that laptop is now connected directly to the USB camera and to the speaker and the microphone in that Mercury as part of the Flex Room system. That is now enabling us to use any platform within that environment. What we've also done cleverly with this device is that we have made all the signal transmission from the desktop unit to the MCR NUC, or the UC engine as we like to call it, via Cat5. So I'll just pull up my laser pointer on here. So what we have here is that in a typical scenario, you'd be plugging in your laptop, and at this point in time, the USB loudspeaker and microphone, and also the camera, will now be handed over to the laptop. So you'll have a speaker microphone on the table, your camera is now connected to your laptop, and then you can run any software collaboration platform on that device, and that will be displayed on the screen in front of you. When you finish your third-party call, you unplug, and this returns back to being a native Teams room with all the functionality you'd expect from any native MCR. This functionality started out on the MX series, but it will be coming to our range of devices a bit later on. So what you can see from our range is that we have a very simple way to look at all types of meeting rooms. From our M series desktop solutions, you'll see there's a ubiquitous feature down the middle, which is the UC engine. Even then, we're not asking our clients to put a PC tucked behind a screen and have it dangling around in free air. We've actually even mounted the NUC PC onto an integrator-friendly plate with the power supply and the USB ingest device actually on a plate that can mount behind a screen. That is then paired with the M series desktop unit or the B series touch panel unit, together with either a soundbar or a camera at the front of the room. When we get into the C series space, we can now start looking at really making complex spaces work with Teams. So Crestron's core product range, which is video switches and audio DSPs and even networked video over compressed video transport on the network, means that we can do any space and we can make it Teams compatible. What you'll see coming later on this year is that the peripheral sharing capability with the MX150 will come to many other devices in the range, and then we'll truly have a flexible solution for every meeting space. We've got some exciting announcements to make as well. Crestron and Logitech have partnered up to allow the C-Series solution to be partnered up with Logitech peripherals. This is a really exciting move because it does expand on the offering and allow us to hit a few little extra sort of market niches where we previously wouldn't have been. And we know that Logitech have a fantastic range of peripherals that can plug into our solution there, and we're allowing that to happen. But also what we're doing is some very, very clever things, which we'll look at later, with natively monitoring Logitech peripherals within our monitoring platform, Xio Cloud, which is based in Azure. So this enables truly cloud-based monitoring and ownership of these devices as we go forward. And in light of recent events globally, as we all know, and I'm sure we're all watching from home, that we're seeing a lot of our clients are looking to very, very quickly enable meeting rooms with Teams. Clearly, the adoption from a home perspective has been massive. As our clients move back into meeting spaces, we are seeing all of our clients looking to enable their spaces with Teams. Now, typically, the challenge here, of course, is the modification of meeting rooms can be quite costly. So if you're looking at installing Teams room systems, then you're looking at extra power and data and holes in a table and various other integration points, which could be quite challenging. So we've had a number of our clients have adopted the R series cart, which allows either with the soundbar or the Mercury solution to be able to quickly enable a meeting room for Teams native meetings. But at a certain point in time, when things start to settle down, and Lord, I hope they do, that we can actually take those devices off that cart and fully integrate it into the meeting room. It's the same kit, it's just on a mobile cart, and it's allowing our clients to get into Teams rooms very, very easily with the minimum of fuss. Single power and single data to allow all this to happen as we plug in. So we talked earlier about the value add with Crestron and the Crestron Flex, and one of those devices is AirMedia. Now, AirMedia is an enterprise-grade wireless presentation platform that we've had to market for a number of years. And in recent times, we gave it a real uplift, and we've changed the wireless presentation technology to be an in-house platform, which does so much rather than just wireless presentation. But when we're looking at an MTR environment, including an Air Media into the MTR install really does expand on the capabilities. The first and most important one is that now we can provide you with a truly native Microsoft screen sharing capability, very, very similar to what you would get if you were using a Surface Hub, because the Air Media has had a recent upgrade to use Miracast. So in typical operation, you can walk into a meeting room and you can hit Windows and K, and you can find that room and you can push your content to the screen natively without any cables or any issues whatsoever. And you can do that obviously outside of a Teams meeting. And this is a use case we are seeing plenty of, because yes, absolutely, a lot of environments are adopting Teams meetings as a default, but a lot of environments aren't yet. And many people just want to get into a room and they want to present, or they want to walk into a room that's not Teams enabled and they want to present wirelessly. This obviously helps as well with the COVID situation. So the only device you're now touching to present is your laptop. You're not touching any control panels in the room, and you're minimizing your touch points. All of this is driven from your laptop. It enables you to sit and stand anywhere in a room. So obviously a lot of rooms have been modified for post-COVID work practices. And so consequently, maybe even the cables on the desk aren't reaching into the laptops anymore. So that doesn't matter anymore with wireless presentation. We can do that, and it's all very, very secure. In fact, interesting to note that when you use Miracast with an Air Media, you have two modes of operation. You actually have a network-based operation, which actually goes through the Wi-Fi that you're connected to, but it will also connect in a peer-to-peer manner as well. So it will enable you to actually have your guests walk into a meeting room and present natively to your hardware. So this solves the problem of cable types, connector types, be it display ports or USB-C or HDMI. That seem to be varying degrees of adoption on laptops. You don't have to log into a client's network if you're a guest walking into those environments, and it really does mean that it's really making those meetings much more simple. And again, minimizing those touch points. So while we're in a meeting room, how do we find that meeting room? And how do we understand what's going on in that meeting room? And how do we know that we booked that meeting? And also, more importantly, if I'm now largely based from home because my organization is now reducing the amount of people who are going into the office, I need to be sure that if I'm going into the office that I've got a meeting space that is booked and it's booked for the right amount of people. I also need to know if I'm managing those environments, that the solutions that I have in meeting rooms are being utilized and that those rooms are being used, and that I'm also not running the risk of too many people being in a meeting room. So Crestron Room Scheduling has been a core product range for us for a while, and it ties in absolutely seamlessly with a Microsoft environment. These are native Microsoft devices, and they natively pair to Exchange or to O365. What we've also done is to partner up with a group of very, very clever third-party organizations, about 20 of them now, who have been producing some incredible software management platforms for workplace management. And some notable ones are Team, EMS, AppSpace, Robin, NFS. These are solutions, particularly Team, EMS, and various others, and Space Connect, who are also now producing software solutions to manage post-COVID work environments and to put that information on the room scheduling screen that's outside of the meeting room. So we're partnering up very cleverly to make sure that our clients are getting all of the solutions that they need for a safe workplace as we go into a post-COVID world. So the room booking panel that you will see on the screen can either be in a 10-inch or a 7-inch or a 5-inch model. It has many modes of operation. You can customize that to a degree, and you can even put videos on it, and you can do a huge amount of customization on that. It will natively pair to availability light accessories, so a light bar, ceiling mounts, wall mounts, to enable you very, very quickly to look across your workspace and see whether or not a room is booked. You can pair that with a PoE occupancy sensor that also will give you indication if somebody is in that room but not booked. So typically what we will have is a green light for the meeting room available, a red light for the meeting room being booked, or a blue light for the meeting room occupied but not booked. And of course, all of that data can be fed back into monitoring platforms so that we can actually understand how our resources are being used. And so we can be sure that we are not overusing or underusing our meeting room resources. We can plan for the future. We can temporarily block out spaces for offices. For example, a meeting room can now be an office if you need to have people isolated in certain work environments. We can ensure that tools can be implemented to stop too many people booking meetings. Too many people booking into a meeting room for physical meetings. And we can also ensure that physical meeting rooms are available for Teams calls if people are utilizing Teams from outside the organization as well. We even have the ability to bump a meeting if nobody shows up. So we did a recent rollout in a large bank in Australia where I'm based, where we trialed 67 room booking panels over 2 floors. What we saw there was 10,000 meetings in 1 month. And we were able to prove to that bank that of those 10,000 meetings, that 25% of those meetings were no-shows, and they were booked, but nobody showed up. The bank thought they had a problem with lack of meeting rooms, and we showed them they had no problem with lack of meeting rooms. They had a problem with people booking meetings and not showing up. We were able to manage that for them, and we saved them an absolute fortune in the process by doing that. This is easy for us. This is what we do, and this is all very obviously linked into all of our ecosystem for Microsoft, for presentation, for AV solutions, and also for Teams native solutions as well. Now, underpinning or overpinning all of that is Crestron's cloud monitoring solution. So we have had Xio Cloud to market for probably nearly 2 years now, and it really is a first in class and best in breed cloud platform for managing technology in the workplace. So Xio Cloud was developed with Microsoft over the space of about 7 years, and it's built on the Azure IoT hub. And it was originally intended that we would just use Azure as it was, but there's a huge amount of work had to go in to ensure that the platform was ready for us to do with it what we wanted to do. So we have built a platform that is subscription based. It is also room licensed as well. So we are able to give the client a single price for a single meeting room. And any number of devices within that meeting room, obviously within reason. And that then means that our clients can now not only monitor the meeting room as you'd expect, but we can even deploy hardware in those spaces. We can manage deployment, we can manage settings, we can manage group policies, we can manage firmware revisions. We can ensure that the security patches are applied remotely. In a typical scenario, we have a large professional services firm in our region who recently installed a couple of 100 room booking panels, and they looked at the cost of maintaining those panels, and even just updating firmware a couple of times a year was going to be a reasonably costly exercise. What they looked at with Xio Cloud was the ability for every single one of those panels to be cloud managed, and also to be managed in terms of firmware upgrades. So recently, the entity that manages those panels for this large organization was managed to do a firmware upgrade for all 300 plus panels, literally overnight, without actually having to leave their armchair. And this is the type of functionality that is rolling out for all of Crestron devices utilizing Xio Cloud. Because it's built on Azure, we have all the benefits and all the security of being hosted within a very, very secure platform. So, we're certainly not putting any of our clients at risk by utilizing this platform. And we're linked to obviously the Microsoft tools that allow us to report on these the usage of the devices as well. So tools like Power BI and various APIs that we're bringing into the platform can be utilized to report on usage. So we've got some clever things that we've done recently. So obviously we talked about deploying device firmware. So this is what Xio Cloud looks like. It's a reasonably simple interface, but very, very powerful in what it does. You can see from the UI there that what we have is a tree structure that allows us to break down the devices via region, or even via floor, or even via campus, for example. And we can drill down all the way into those devices. So deploying, we can probably save our clients about 90% of their deployment costs, in certain spaces, and certainly things like room booking panels are a classic case for that. And when applying group settings and policies, now all of a sudden we can now group devices, so we can push those settings, but we don't have to go into the office to do that. Now, there's a very, very powerful API which is connected to this, and I'll guide you through that ever so briefly soon. And really, really exciting is that we're working with an ecosystem of partners and like-minded organizations to bring them into the Crestron Xio ecosystem. So we're talking to display manufacturers, microphone manufacturers, Logitech, as we mentioned earlier. There is now a direct connection between Logitech Sync platform and Xio Cloud. And so consequently, Logitech peripherals such as rally cameras and various other devices can actually be monitored within our platform. And we're also deriving some information from things like the Huddley camera that is included within our MTR offering. So we're now looking at people counting usage stats. We've got some capabilities coming down the path utilizing our occupancy sensors, which have a degree of people counting built into them as well. So now your organization can receive alerts if the maximum number of people allowed in a meeting room is exceeded. So we can be very sure that we're not putting any employees at risk in this post-COVID world where meeting room occupancy numbers are now vastly reduced due to social distancing measures as well. And we can enable our administrators to manage the environment. And so the cost of managing these devices is decreased massively, which is good because we're seeing a lot of meeting rooms being equipped with solutions, and often they can be quite complex to manage. So it's worth pointing out that this is there is a little bit of overlap between this device and Microsoft's managed meeting room solution. Microsoft's managed meeting room solution is largely aimed at the MTR itself, whereas what we are able to do here is to manage all the peripherals around it. So every Crestron device that rolls off the production line will be equipped with the capability to be monitored and controlled via Xio Cloud. What we've also recently introduced into Xio Cloud is remote control. So the touchscreen devices that are built into Flex MCRs, either the desktop series, either the Mercury all-in-one unit or the desktop controllers, we can derive and we can view what is on those screens. And it doesn't matter what is on those screens, and that could be anything from a room booking panel to an MCR. We can view what is on those panels for various reasons. The most important one, of course, is to understand what's going on in that space, and for assistance, you can operate those rooms as an administrator if you wanted to as well. And remote help desk support has been seen as a really useful addition to all of this as well, because we're seeing a huge amount of organizations now having to have a lot of meeting room capabilities, but not that many people to manage them at all. So as you can see, this is quite an exciting development that we've introduced into the range. And the M series will be onboarded with this capability a bit later on in the year. And really, it's cross-platform as well, because it doesn't really matter for us what's on that screen. And so if it's an MTR, or even if it's a Zoom room, we can absolutely monitor and we can control what's on that screen. Worth noting as well that when you do enable this capability, a little text logo appears on the device to actually say that the room is being monitored remotely. So we are obviously being very careful about people's privacy there. And of course, you have to be authenticated to be utilizing Xio Cloud to get access to all of this. So just put any of those concerns to bed. I've talked briefly about the Xio Cloud capability for us, and as I've said as well, that Logitech themselves have partnered with us. We are also seeing some display manufacturers coming onto the journey as well. There's some very, very key display manufacturers who have already decided to join us on that journey. Some big ones like LG and NEC, and many more to come. What that means going forward is that depending on the capabilities of that are built into those third-party devices and the ability they're giving us to monitor and control them, we can be in a scenario in the very near future where every device in a meeting room, from the MTR to the switching devices to the control system, the display, even the microphones and the DSP that drive it, can all be monitored, controlled, configured and managed via Xio Cloud. Also, we're able to delegate rights to third parties as well. So we have multiple levels of authentication and use cases for Xio Cloud as well. That enables us to be able to allocate contractors, for example, to manage our environments. So a Crestron reseller with an Xio Cloud account or a service technician with an Xio Cloud account can be delegated privileges to be able to manage that space. Very, very key, obviously, when we're looking at reasonably low-cost solutions being deployed into many, many scenarios with not that many people managing them. We need all the tools we can get to ensure that this is a very, very seamless environment for our clients. All of this really sits very well in our cloud services vision. So we like to see this in a couple of trees. Endpoint management is clearly exactly what we're talking about here. So we're talking about the ability to manage individual settings, template-based configuration, firmware updates, and even managing the UI code on these devices. So if we're talking about that page flip we looked at earlier on, if you want to push changes to that or make modifications to that, you can do that remotely and via cloud services. So we're changing the way that we typically look after our environments. These are making things nice and easy and cost-effective for our clients to do that. From a support perspective, people don't accept solutions that don't work, and we're seeing our clients are entering into an MTR environment where it's a relatively new platform and there's some nervousness around that, and we can give our clients the confidence they need to ensure that they're getting visibility on their devices and they're getting the maximum availability of those devices as well. So they can see device status, they can get alerts if things go wrong. As we talked about, the remote control capability can get them out of any binds that are there. And then status dashboards can be pushed up so that people can actually have quick capabilities to look at these solutions and ensure that they're working across multiple sites. And then we look at things like people counting and log collection to ensure that we can understand what's going on in those spaces, and we know that there are no issues associated with overpopulation. And then the portal for end users and dealers and drivers, and even a partner aftermarket is naturally all being talked about as well. So being able to really manage all those devices to a level that we can ensure that even room booking panels can have the right application loaded to them at the right time, ensuring that drivers are updated and firmware is always up to date. Security patches, for example, is a good one for that as well. And the API gateway for third parties and end users is a critical part of integration. And we're looking at integration into platforms like ServiceNow and delegated authentication for third parties as well. Now, couple all of that with Crestron Virtual Control, which is our server-based control platform, which is replicating the success we've had in hardware control for audiovisual solutions. We can couple that with space analytics and actionable selections and AI-based optimization and seating allocation. These are all suggestions for as-a-service models for our clients. And this, again, is going to see us into every space and ensuring that our clients are getting the best out of the technologies that they're deploying. As an example of this, we've got a partner of ours has actually produced exactly this, is that they've produced a dashboard for their clients. And this is an SLA service offering from one of our key partners, built on Xio Cloud. So they're leveraging all the API capabilities of Xio Cloud, and they're able to offer their clients a single pane of glass view for about all the devices installed in their environments. Again, you can see the power of this type of thing when we look at really getting the most out of our MTR solutions and our Teams equipped meeting rooms as we go to the future. So thank you. Thank you for listening to the solutions that we are out in market. As you can see, an MTR room is not just an MTR room. There are many, many capabilities and many value adds that we as an industry can provide to our clients. And the native Microsoft Teams room is just the start of what can be achieved.
Thank you, Max. We have opened the floor to questions. We haven't received any as yet. However, if you'd like to attend the breakout room and if you have any questions there, you can ask Max directly. So thanks very much, Max, and hopefully see you all in the breakout room.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Cheers.
Thank you.